People ain't loyal no more. It's time to talk. Thank you for accepting invitation to my podcast Beyond Loyalty. I've got absolute pleasure to have you here, Barry, and I'm really looking forward for the stories and talking about the Mediterranean lifestyle.
You're welcome. It's nice to be here at last.
yeah, we finally met in person. So let's start from kind of beginning. What did you do before real estate? Have you always been involved in real estate?
No. From the moment I left school, I was in the printing industry.
Okay.
So I went into the printing industry, did my training in the industry, and then worked my way through the printing companies over the years until I was about I'd say late 30s, and then basically there were long days. Firstly, in the industry, 6 in the morning to sometimes 10 at night. Worked my way through, and I was a production manager for several different companies over the time. But towards the late 30s, myself and my wife decided to invest overseas, basically. It wasn't our plan initially to move overseas. We decided to buy an investment property. We did our research and we looked around different countries, but we ended up deciding that Cyprus was the place. So we visited an exhibition actually in the UK, met a developer there, okay, and then we went over. And we went over in the January of 2004, okay, and we decided to buy a property while we were there. And it was literally a holiday home or an investment for retirement later. But during that year, we decided to, we visited 3 times that year. In the September, we came back to the UK and we said, let's go and live, okay? And the following year, our property was going to be ready. So we both gave 5 months' notice at our employment in the UK. And we decided to go to Cyprus. We looked at the worst scenario, to be honest. Worst scenario for us is that we give ourselves 1 year to live there.
Okay.
And we'd never done the one gap year like our children were doing. Okay, maybe having a gap year, and everybody does it these days. We never did that in our generation. So we said, look, worst scenario is we go to Cyprus for 1 year. Okay, and then if we doesn't work out, we just come back. And we're back into the industry that we've been in for a very long time, so experienced it.
We can always come back.
And we can go back into the industry we had. But within 3 weeks of being in Cyprus, okay, we had jobs. And I've been with Perfilia ever since. So for 21 years now, we've been with Perfilia.
So you didn't have any secured job when you were moving there?
No, it was just literally we'll go ourselves 1 year to live.
Knock on the door, I'm looking for a job.
We'll see how it went, no plans immediately to get work, okay? But the opportunity came upon us within the first 3 weeks of being there, and we just took that opportunity. Brilliant. And it just went from there, really. And like I said, 21 years later, I'm still with Perfilia. So it's we always say that there's all these TV programs out there that portray moving overseas and that sort of thing. If somebody in these programs, there's a lot of people that go overseas and they decide to come straight back, or it doesn't work out. Yeah. So they're always like focusing on the negative side of things.
Yeah.
But with our story, we always said if a TV channel followed us, everything went to plan. Everything was perfect. So, it would be a boring program, basically.
I do believe that every change is good. Sometimes people are afraid to make a change, but to me, every change was good. When I decided to come to UK, it was great because, I was living miles better life than I was living in Slovakia when things changed and we had Euro and lack of work. There was plenty of opportunities 2010 when I came over here. So have you sold everything in the UK basically that time and you just fully moved?
No, we decided to keep, because we didn't know how it would work out.
Okay.
So we decided to keep
Plan B.
Plan B was always there. So we kept our house. We rented our house over here. So it was empty. We took all our furniture with us. It was an empty house. We rented it out, and we rented it out for about 17 years.
Okay.
Okay. But again, the motivation of going to Cyprus was the fact that we were working, such long hours, and getting no time. We had golf membership, we had gym membership, we were all these memberships we had, but we had no time to use them.
No time to do it.
Okay, so the idea was, we'll go and chill out, relax, see what happened. Okay, and that was the attitude we have with it. Okay, but looking at that worst scenario element all the time. Okay.
So would you say that the lifestyle in Mediterranean, particularly in Cyprus, it's a little bit slower? People are not chasing their tails all the time,
That's right. Yeah.
and they can enjoy the life as well.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle change basically.
Okay.
Cyprus especially is a lifestyle destination. Okay, we outdoors all the time. It's a socialising, al fresco type dining all the time. Okay, the lifestyle, the pace of life is a lot slower. Okay, even for us, it took a lot to get used to. Even now, we talking to our head office, or I'm talking to the head office, and I want something done now. Okay, but it might take 2 or 3 days or even a week to get what I want. It's a different pace of life in the Mediterranean. Definitely. You just got to obviously adjust if you can. Okay,
so you fell in love with it basically straight away.
Yeah, it's 10 months a year, sunshine, warm weather. You wake up in the morning. You plan things, you plan barbecues, you plan events. You know it's going to happen. Okay. Over here, obviously in the UK, you plan something, and it depends on the weather on the morning. You might have to cancel it. It's about the lifestyle change. It just makes it so much easier to live and enjoy life in that type of environment.
And is your place in Paphos?
Yes, we originally bought an apartment in Paphos, just outside Paphos actually, which was the first property. We kept that for 4 years. We kept that for a bit longer than that, actually. We kept that for about 8 years. We lived in it for 4 years. Okay, and then we decided after being there that we wanted our own villa, our own swimming pool. So then we bought that. We continued with the apartment for a few years, rented it out, used it as an investment property, but then decided to sell that and just have the one property over there. Okay, obviously keeping the property in the UK, which is the rental income and if you like, our pension for the future. Okay,
I get it. So let's touch on Paphilia. When did you start with them? Was it straight away when you came to Cyprus, or after?
Yeah, we moved to Cyprus in the March 2005, and then it was April, literally 3 weeks later, that we decided to accept the opportunity and start working with them. So that was myself and my wife. I've continued with them now, and like I said, I've been with them 21 years. So they're one of the best developers in the island. Okay, they've been established since 1977, a family-owned business. Okay, so we're a mid to high-end developer, if you like. We're producing a quality product.
Okay, and do they build all around the South Cyprus or in just particular towns or cities?
Yeah, no, they're based in Paphos town. Okay, we obviously have offices in Limassol as well. So basically between the two cities, Limassol and Paphos. So it's the southwest corner of the island. We go across and round to Polis and Latchi, Paphos, so all around the southwest area of the island.
And how was the collaboration so far with them?
Yeah, it's been great. Okay, obviously I worked my way through. I was obviously a salesperson based in Cyprus at the beginning. Okay, obviously worked my way through the company. In 2011, myself and my wife were asked to go to China. Okay, and we went to China for a few years, 4 years actually, to open the market there. So I became business development manager and sales manager for China region. Okay, and then we moved down to Southeast Asia and went to Ho Chi Minh and Vietnam, and so we cover all of Southeast Asia as well as the UK market now. Okay, and after COVID, we started seeing a lot more interest from the UK for people wanting to come to Cyprus or even wanting to leave the UK. Cyprus was one of those destinations. So I'm now basing myself here in the UK a lot more because the business is busier here.
Yeah. So what are the benefits apart from obviously the lifestyle, and I believe there are some tax benefits as well, citizenship potential when you spend over 300,000 euro? Is that correct?
There's different benefits for every client. Every client is different. Okay? Every client is doing this for a different reason. Okay, but Cyprus, the good thing about Cyprus is it has different options for clients. Okay, so we have a permanent residency program, which if you spend 300,000 euros or more, okay, on a property, it has to be a new build property. Okay, then it allows the client to apply for permanent residency for themselves, their spouse, and any children up to the age of 25, as long as the children between 18 and 25 are in full-time education somewhere in the world. Okay, so it's a residency. Okay, that residency can lead to citizenship application after year 7. So as long as somebody is staying in Cyprus and living in Cyprus full-time, then they can make their application after year 7 for their citizenship.
And do you have to renew this until you get citizenship on a yearly basis, or how does it work?
No, it's Cyprus PR is a permanent residency.
Okay.
So once it's approved, the clients have it forever, as long as they maintain an investment of €300,000. Okay,
In Cyprus.
It has to be a new build property as well, not a resale or a second hand. And as long as they visit Cyprus for 1 day every 2 years.
Really?
Yes.
So they don't have to live there.
So
basically.
there's actually no requirement to live in Cyprus if they don't want to. We have many clients across the world who are just travelling in and out. Okay, they're not actually full-time based there, but they have their residency of Cyprus. It's a plan B, if you like, for a lot of clients.
I guess it's attractive for Asian countries as well, because obviously they can get second citizenship.
But the UK market, for most of our UK clients, they are coming because of the residency. They're coming to live in Cyprus. Okay, so they're leaving the UK full time and they're coming down, and they're going to spend the rest of their lives, or as much of their lives as they want, in the UK. In Cyprus.
Yeah.
So they will all need the residency, because obviously since Brexit, obviously in Europe now, a British passport holder, if you want to stay in a European country, you need to have a residency of a European country.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's a bit more complicated.
Yeah.
So does it mean that when you get residency there, because Greece is in European Union, you can travel around Europe as well?
At the moment, as we speak, no.
Okay.
Because Cyprus is not a full member. They're obviously a European member, but they're not a full member of the Schengen zone.
Oh, right.
The Schengen zone is the zone that gives you the free movement.
Okay.
That has been announced last year by the president, of Cyprus on national television, that Cyprus will be entering Schengen this year. We know that everything has been completed that's needed from the government, so it's just waiting for the rubber stamp from the European Union, basically.
So I guess that will be even more attractive.
Yeah.
For people to get that citizenship,
because then it gives them that freedom to travel, get the residency of Cyprus,
all
and then you can travel to
countries.
Without visas to all the other European countries within the Schengen zone. Okay, I think Cyprus is maybe one of the last ones now to join the Schengen zone as well.
Yeah.
So,
I'm quite lucky to be Slovakian, because we can travel with ID all around the European, countries.
It's the same with us now. When we went to Cyprus, UK was in Europe. Okay, so we didn't need to get the citizenship at that time. It wasn't until Brexit was confirmed that we then decided, because we'd lived there for so long, that we decided then to apply for our citizenship as well. Mm-hmm. So we've got the citizenship as well for Cyprus. So.
Brilliant. Thinking about leaving UK for the better lifestyle? Picture yourself in Cyprus. Sunshine, sea views, and slower pace of life will help you to find your dream home on this beautiful island. Let's talk about a little bit about development. So what would you say it's more attractive for people, apartments or villa? Obviously, I guess it depends on their budgets.
Yeah, there's several factors. It depends on the budget, firstly, as you say, but it also depends on why they're doing it. Mm-hmm. Okay, for us as a company, and for me personally, we need to speak to the clients and understand why they want to do this. Okay, before we start sending lots of different options to them. Some clients are doing holiday homes. Mm-hmm. They just want an apartment to lock up and go. Okay, there are clients that are coming down to live. They don't want an apartment to live in. They don't want to be on a tourist resort. They want to be maybe in a village. They want a townhouse, or they want their own villa place with their own pool. So, all the clients are different. So, luckily for us as Perfilia, we have a wide range available for the clients to choose from. Okay, we've got around 12 to 15 projects under construction at any one time. Mm-hmm. So we've got a lot of options there for them.
Okay. And what would you say, have you got any data, what's the split of investment properties and for them to live? Is it more that people look for investment properties, mm-hmm. like let them, do they let them as an Airbnb, as a short lets as well? Okay,
there is that option. Okay. But data-wise, it's quite hard, because Cyprus has never been an investment location. Okay. Over the traditionally. Mm-hmm. Okay. Cyprus is more of a lifestyle destination for retirees, for people coming to live, people putting their children in education. Yeah. Okay. More recently, though, Cyprus has been booming in the investment side. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'd say for the last 3 or 4 years. Okay, rentals in Cyprus gone crazy, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. Okay, the request for rentals we get every day is gone up. The value of rentals are also going up. Okay, and one of our projects at our Minthis Golf and Leisure Residential Resort, we have a waiting list for clients wanting to rent a property.
Wow.
We are actually contacting clients who have bought there, and we want them to rent their property to us. Because we have clients waiting to be there. So rentals has gone up. Okay, which obviously is creating an investment hub at the moment in Cyprus. As a company, we actually have some new projects where we have launched rental guarantees and rental return options, okay, on apartments and studios and one-bedroom apartments as well. So some of the lower value properties can be rented out. We're given up to 10-year rental guarantees. Okay, so yes, the investment side of Cyprus has been increasing over the last few years.
So you have management options as well in your company. Yeah. Okay, that's brilliant.
Yeah, we can basically Cyprus Pavilia is not just a developer. We are we have all the added services that every investor or foreigner needs.
Potentially,
whether you're living in Cyprus or whether you're just got a property there that you use once or twice a year.
Yeah.
Okay, Pavilia have the management team in place that can actually help you look after that property as well.
That's brilliant.
Okay. And again, importantly, we also have a resale department because not everybody wants new build, okay. And also every investor, even like I say, we're a classic example that we sold our property, our first property. So every investor at some point, whether it's now or in the future, is going to need to sell or going to want to sell.
Course.
So we got a resale department which can help them resell the property as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Is it quite easy to resell?
At the moment, yes. Okay,
yeah.
It's
it depends on the time market.
Timelines, yeah. Obviously, with all property markets, you have your peaks and troughs.
Yep.
At the moment,
UK.
Cyprus is on the up side of things. Okay, so yes, it is easier to sell. There's not that many good resales in the market. Hence the reason a lot of people these days are looking at the new build. And with families that are coming, they're planning their future. It's not an instant decision.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're planning for the future. So buying off plan or under construction, where we're flexible with the payment terms. Okay, and that maybe you're going to move in 18 months or 2 years' time. Your property will be ready for you when you come. Mm-hmm. Okay.
If they buy off plan, is it always more attractive in terms of the value? Do they have certain discounts of the market value afterwards? Or?
Obviously, we're selling at market value today. So whether a property is ready or whether it's under construction, if it's a 2-bedroom townhouse, let's say, ready, it's going to be the same price as the one that's off plan. But you're buying it 2 years or 18 months in advance. So when it's ready, it's going to be worth more. Okay?
Of course.
But yes, as a developer, obviously, there's always a certain amount of discount that we can offer the clients as well. Okay.
Brilliant. What was your decision after you did the research, where you want to go? Because many people from UK, I know, they go to Spain, for example. It's closer, shorter flights, what was the reason for Cyprus?
The lifestyle was a part of it, okay. Obviously, but one of the main key points is when we looked, Cyprus was in the European Union, okay, but there was no VAT on the property purchases. Okay. So we were initially looking at this for an investment. Obviously, like I said, we weren't planning on moving over there.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was purely an investment to start with. That was our initial thoughts. Okay, as a holiday home. But to get in when we did was before the VAT went onto properties. So we obviously, when you're looking at 14 and now 19% VAT, that's a lot of money to be adding to the net value. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we managed to get and buy our property before VAT was added, okay, to the property market. So initially, that was the drive to do it, investment.
Yep.
Okay, and obviously we chose Cyprus because there was no VAT. We managed to get the property at lower values, and it went from there.
Would you go back to UK? You can hear raining now.
We hear rain. Okay. Listen, you can never say never.
Yeah.
Okay. At the moment, because the business is and life changes. Okay.
Of course.
Personally, we got a granddaughter now. Okay, she's 5 years old, but that makes a difference. Okay, so your personal circumstances change. Okay, at the moment, yes, we are spending more time in the UK. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's obviously a personal choice, and less time in Cyprus. Okay, so you never know what's around the corner. Okay,
yeah, definitely.
Ideally, maybe if our granddaughter didn't come along, we might still be in Cyprus full time. But we're splitting our time at the moment to be here. Okay, to enjoy obviously family commitments as well, and seeing her grow up.
What are the plans for Pavilia in the future? Are they one of the best developer in Paphos, or
they? As I said, they're a family business. Okay, they are. Mr. Iliadis now, he's in his 80s. Okay, he's obviously never going to retire. The Cypriots won't retire. Okay, he's still going to be there. Okay, but his daughter and her husband are continuing the company. Okay, from a commercial point of view. Okay, we're launching new projects all of the time.
Okay.
So yes, we got a good history. Okay, but we've also got a good future as well coming up. Okay, we launched 2 new projects last year. We've got new projects coming in the next few months. Okay, and we're launching new projects and adapting our projects to coincide with what the property the demand is from the clients at the moment. There's a lot more clients want townhouses with swimming pools. We're changing and we're launching these sort of things. So we're listening to the market all the time, and we actually then obviously adapt and launch what we need to launch for the current market.
So can you also build to clients' needs? Someone is coming, they will say, I want 5-bedroom villa with this swimming pool, show me the location where I can build it, where the land is available, obviously, because you can't build everywhere. Can you do that as well?
Yeah, as a developer,
request?
Yes, on personal request we do. It's bespoke building, which we do. Okay, obviously some of our projects are what we call pre-designed, and we get building permits for that, and that we build the whole project. Okay, and then other projects we have where clients can choose the plot of land, they choose the villa design, they then also sit with the architects and make it their home. Okay, and then we build that specific villa for them. Okay, so yes, that is an option for the clients as well.
And how long does it take to build, let's say, 2-bed or 3-bed villa? Is it like 18 months or?
On average, yes. Average is about 18 months. We got a project. Most of the villas are built to order. Okay, if we got projects now which we can build a villa in 14 to 16 months, okay? Because we've already started groundwork, we've already started the framework, okay? There's other villas like at our Minthis resort, okay? We're looking at a villa there would take 18 months as standard, okay?
And that's
from the moment the client has signed contracts.
Understand. Okay. And that includes all internal finishes, i.e. painting, kitchen, flooring, everything, so they can just come in and
basically we call it construction furniture. So the tiles, the kitchens are all in, the sinks, the showers, the baths, the taps, all that sort of thing is included. Okay, obviously there's what we call a specification list that the clients get, and then the clients obviously have to choose their personal furniture. Okay, the movable furniture. Obviously we have interior designers available on site. We can help the clients with the internal designs if they wish. Okay, or some clients decide to do it themselves. Okay, so the options are always there from our point of view for the client.
At Rainbow Northwest, we make real estate effortless. Whether you're looking to sell on the market, off market through our exclusive investor database, or via auction, we've got you covered. Plus, we offer top-notch property and project management, including refurbishment for investors. We can help you to build your own portfolio. Let us help you on your real estate journey. Rainbow Northwest, your trusted real estate business partner. So what would be the process, how to help the clients? So someone else will reach out, they have a plan to move out to country. They decided that Cyprus could be the great option for them. What's the process like?
Process starts basically from here in the UK or from whichever country the clients are from. Obviously, they would contact you, or they contact us. Okay, and then the first obviously thing to do is have an initial consultation. Okay, because like I said, every client is different. Okay, so we understand what the client is looking for. Hopefully, we can meet the client here in their home country, have that consultation, and then the client would then normally want to visit Cyprus before they make the final decision. Okay, obviously during that time we would be in communication with the client, send them information brochures and product brochures, and depending on why they're doing it, we might be talking about the permanent residency processing. We might be just talking about an investment in what they can do and in what type of property they need for their investment. Okay, and then when they're in Cyprus, okay, we would arrange for, if I'm not there myself, one of my colleagues would meet them, pick them up from the hotel. We have a day or half a day or 2 days, depending on the client, basically. Show them the properties, firstly. But those appointments are not just about properties. They're about the lifestyle as well. We show them different locations. the lifestyle in Cyprus, we would take them for lunches, we'd take them for dinners if they're there with us. Okay, show them different areas in around the Paphos and Limassol areas. We would also, again, with some clients, they want to take their children or put their children in education if they're going to come and live. So we can arrange appointments for them at the schools. We maybe introduce them to the schools. We would introduce them to lawyers, okay, as well, because they would need a Cypriot lawyer to make their applications for residency, as well as they need a Cypriot lawyer to do the property acquisition.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically we're a one-stop shop, and we can help them through the whole process. The key element here, though, is once they've if they're going for permanent residency, which I would say about 80%, 75-80% of our clients do these days, then the payment structure is important for them. Okay, because as a developer, we have a structure. We would expect the client, and the client would expect to pay us on stage payments across the build time. So as we build a property, funds are released to us when we get to certain stages. But when it comes to the permanent residency, the important factor is the government require the first payment to be 300,000 euros or more. Okay, we would then obviously do the receipts to the client, and once we receive that fund, those receipts go to the lawyers as well. And once we've received that, it means that the client's lawyer can make the application to the government. Okay, so in most cases, clients might have their residency, because it gets approved within 6 to 9 months, so they would have their residency approved before their property is ready. Okay, but the initial part of the process is the first payment, if the client is going to do the permanent residency, must be 300,000 euros plus VAT.
I understand.
All right.
That's great, because yourself particularly, you can talk from your own experience when you speak to the clients, because you did the same. You moved from the UK to the Cyprus, so you can basically, it's natural for you to tell them the process because you went through it.
No, definitely. And that, again, I'm doing this job not just from a professional point of view, okay, from a personal point of view as well, because we understand the questions and the concerns that clients will have, okay, and also a lot of the clients end up being friends as well. It's not just about selling property. You build a relationship with the client, and then that client, buying process these days takes longer, so we have more interaction with the clients over a longer period before they make a decision to buy. Okay, so but it's about trust as well. Okay, the clients buying overseas these days, the clients need to trust. They need to come and see to get that trust as well.
Yeah,
okay.
I agree. Education. Can we touch on that?
Yes, we see a lot of clients, as I mentioned earlier, coming to Cyprus for living, and a lot of the clients from all over the world, as well as the UK, they're bringing their children to have the English education in Cyprus.
Okay.
50% of students in Cyprus are currently foreign. So that figure alone shows you how good the education is. Okay, clients obviously have choices of the public education, which is free of charge. Okay, obviously the first language though is Greek in the public. Okay, they do teach English as well, but most of our clients will go to the private education. Okay, where the education is English curriculum and everything is in English. Okay, and basically they get English qualifications from the Cypriot private schools. Okay, these schools, we've seen them and we've seen it ourselves in Cyprus. They are expanding all the time, building the schools, making them bigger and bigger and bigger. They have so much interest for foreigners coming to Cyprus for children's education. So it's a big industry, the education at the moment. So and we have clients coming from all over the world for the private education in Cyprus. Okay, there are some clients, some schools which have also put in boarding facilities. So their clients are actually sending their children to Cyprus and in the boarding section as well. Okay.
So I presume that English is one of the most spoken languages apart from obviously Greek.
Yeah, look, Cyprus, because as we know,
if there are different foreigners, obviously English is always the main language that we will speak.
The connection between everybody.
The connection with everybody.
Cyprus, as we know, was up until 1960. Cyprus got its independence, but a lot about Cyprus is similar to the UK. It was a UK colony up until 1960. So the legal system is the UK law, UK legal system basically. Okay, the British common law, as we say. Okay, is practiced there. Everybody speaks English. Okay, yes, it's nice to know a few words, but we've been there so long we can't speak Greek.
Okay.
We know a few
Did
words,
you try?
that sort of thing. We tried when we went there many years ago. Actually, we went there many years ago. Okay, as we said, and basically before we left the UK, we were going to work in the mornings. Myself, my wife, the tapes went in. We were listening. In those days, it was tapes in the car. It wasn't CDs.
Yep.
Okay, so we were putting the tapes in, trying to learn the language. We picked it up, started to do it before we went. We thought it would be a good thing to do. Then we go to Cyprus. In the cities, everybody speaks English. Okay, you go up into the little villages and into the mountains, and you try and use the language. And then in the cafes, these little old ladies. Okay, they respond to you in English. And you think, well, we don't need to speak Greek, Even the locals want to speak English to us.
Wow.
So we were speaking, responding in English. So over time, it's like, it reduced. We weren't doing it as much because we could see that we didn't need it. When you're there, you go to a bank, you go to government offices, you go restaurants and cafes. Everybody speaks English to you. Mm-hmm. Okay, behind the scenes, obviously the back room of the government offices and the local language. Obviously, everybody speaks Greek. Okay, but you don't need it to live. Okay, it's not essential. Okay, although saying that, on another note, going back to the citizenship applications, now the government have changed something within the citizenship application, and they do now expect people to understand and speak a little Greek. There is a short test that is done. So basically, if you've been living there 7 years and then you want to apply for your citizenship, they do expect you to understand Greek, and there is a short test for the citizenship application now.
Yeah.
Which you can understand.
Of course, it's very similar to when we would like to apply for a UK passport. Mm-hmm. There is a test. I actually got 2 books there. You need to know a little bit of history.
Yeah.
There are questions, but that's normal to me. If you live in some country, you should be able to understand at least basics.
Yeah, and when we did our application for citizenship, there wasn't the test needed, but we still had to visit the office, and we had like 3 or 4 questions we had to answer. Who was the president and that sort of thing.
Okay.
How many Cypriot friends do you have? Do you know what I mean? Name them and that sort of thing. So there are, you've been there for that long, you're expected to know a little bit, definitely.
So when people make an application and spend 300 plus €1,000, what's the possibility to get it? Is there any reason why they would be rejected? Obviously, I presume they also check some criminal records and some. There are certain checks. Obviously, they don't want allow anyone to come in and give everyone citizenships. Yeah,
no, that's right. So you have to have a clean criminal record certificate with part of the application process. Okay, that's got to come
from your own country.
From your country of nationality, or your country of residence if you've already left your natural country.
Yeah.
Okay, that is the one main thing. But obviously, from a point of view, we've been doing this for many years now. Since 2011, actually, we started doing the permanent residency, which is obviously attached to a new build property. So the developers combine the two. Okay, and obviously, either our legal team or the client's legal representative in Cyprus would check all documents that are needed before they get submitted to the government. So effectively, the lawyers that we work with are given a pre-approval. So we make sure, and the lawyers make sure, that all documentation that the client has submitted to them is approved before it goes to the government office. So there's really no real chance of a rejection.
Yeah.
We can never say 100%, but we've got a 99% approval rate, let's say, because everything is checked before it goes to the government office. Yeah. So the government, it's all about the lawyers. The lawyers are experienced. We know what is needed. If there is any cases which is slightly show any concerns, then obviously we're going to speak to the client, or the lawyers will speak to the client before it goes to that government office to make sure that there might be additional documents needed. There might be something else that is needed in the application just to prove something. Okay, and then as long as the lawyers are happy with everything, then they would make that submission. Okay, but it's very few cases we actually have which are rejected. Okay.
What nationalities you would say that lately been moving to Cyprus? Is UK one of the top ones?
Yeah, UK. Going back to when we first moved, Cyprus has always been an attractive destination for the UK clients. Okay, from a holiday home point of view. Okay, or a retirement destination. But obviously, when 2008 financial crash hit, okay, after that, we got a lot less inquiries. There was less people coming from the UK, so the market here quietened down a bit. But since COVID, basically, and once all the borders reopened, we've seen a big influx from the UK. Okay, and that even more so in the last 2 years with this government that we got in place in the UK. Okay, there's a lot more high net worth individuals, in addition to the holiday home investors, in addition to the retirees that want to find another location. Again, taxation is a big thing for that. But in general terms, we have clients coming from all over the world. Cyprus is very multicultural. Okay, there's a lot of different nationalities living there or even just purchasing property there. You know, we got clients from as I mentioned, Asia. Okay, we got South Koreans, Chinese, Vietnamese, Indonesians, South Americans. Okay, we got people from Canada. Okay, we've got South Africans that are living there, and I'd say in the last 18 months, we're also seeing a lot more Europeans.
That's what I wanted to ask. What about
Polish,
Europeans? Yeah, Poland,
Polish, Austrian, Germans.
Czech.
Okay, clients from Denmark. Okay, they're all coming down now to Cyprus as well. Those type of clients, though, don't need their residency because they're Europeans.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're buying for holiday homes and retirement homes. Yeah. So Northern Europeans are now choosing Cyprus as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're seeing a lot more of those in the last 18 months.
What would you say its average price of 2-bed villa?
2-bed villa starting prices now.
Yeah, starting prices.
We've just one of our projects at Coral Vista. We got 2-bedroom and 3 bedrooms there. The starting prices of villas there were €480,000
480
plus the VAT.
Yep.
Okay, and the 3 bedrooms now are starting at €590,000. Okay, plus the VAT each time. At the moment, until June this year or July this year, okay, clients buying a property for their own personal use, okay, they can still pay 5% VAT on that property. So standard VAT, as we know, is 19%.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you're buying and you're going to live in the property, it's going to be your personal home. You can declare it as your main residence of Cyprus. Then you can pay 5% on that. But the VAT law will be changing later this year. So it's important if somebody is going to buy a villa now and they want to only pay 5% instead of 19%, then it's important to get in before July the 1st and get the contract signed before July the 1st.
And to tick that box that it would be for them, they only have to visit once in 2 years. Is that correct?
That's for the residency.
For residency.
Yeah, for residency, for permanent residency. But the VAT law is obviously something separate from residency. It just means that you're going to use the property personally, and you're not going to use it as an investment property where you're going to rent it.
So you shouldn't be renting it out?
No.
Okay.
Not when you pay the 5% VAT.
I get it.
It's your personal usage. Okay.
So you can only use it for your family or for yourself.
Yeah. Okay. If you're going to rent a property in Cyprus, then you need to pay 19% VAT.
Yeah.
Okay, but there are ways as well with resort projects like we have. We have a new project called Elysia Blue, and we've got the Minthis Golf Resort. In those resorts, you can actually claim all of your VAT back once the property is completed as an investor. So it means that we have to have you can only do it on resort projects where there's a reception, cafe, bars, indoor pool, gymnasium, outdoor pools, tennis, all the resort facilities you expect. On those type of resorts, and they're fully managed by a company which is licensed by the CTO, which is the Cyprus Tourism Organisation. Then the client who's invested, okay, they will sign a management agreement with us, and we will rent that property for them. So after we've rented the property for 6 months, okay, the lawyer will then make an application to apply for all the VAT returned. So all 19% VAT can be returned to the investor. So it's a good, attractive investment at the moment for Cyprus. But it can't be done on every single project, every single property. Only resort projects. Okay,
I understand. Is there any limitation to any nationalities, or it's open to everyone basically? There is no limitation.
There's no limitations. Obviously, if there's countries, we can name a few that maybe North Korean wants to do it. Then for the residency, then the government may be a bit more strict on what the documentation they will want from that client.
Yeah.
But basically, all nationalities have the right to apply.
Yep.
Okay. It's just a matter of as long as they fulfil the criteria, there should be no
the paperwork.
reason. Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
Let's touch a little bit on that lifestyle. The difference, obviously, between the UK and Cyprus lifestyle. Slower pace, sunshine, 365 days in a year, I guess. How is it in...
340, let's say 340
340, okay. What about winter? 16 degrees, 12, 16, something like that?
It's a short winter.
Yeah.
Okay, we're looking at January, February really being the main winter months.
Okay.
But even sometimes in January...
So you're coming to the end of the winter now?
Yeah. Yes, we are. And that's actually, the weather is just turning in Cyprus now. It's starting to warm up. Okay. January and February this year has been quite wet. Okay, which obviously, as a hot country, we need that anyway.
Yeah.
But again, you don't get it for days and days and days like you do here in the UK. If it might rain for 2 or 3 hours and then it's gone and the sun comes out. Okay, and but the nice thing is that even when it rains, it's not really cold. You still got 10, 11, 12, even 14 or 15 degrees.
Yeah.
You know, we were there a few weeks ago, and yes, we had rain, but on average, we saw 18, 20 degrees for the week we were there. Okay, last year I went in January for a whole week. And I went there to do some work on my house, actually. And it was 20 degrees, 21 degrees every day for January. But traditionally, January, February is the coolest time. And we always say, if you visit Cyprus in January and February and you like it, then you're going to like it for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Okay. But come early March is when we see the change in the weather. It starts to get warmer again. Okay.
I think it's critical for people who would love to live there to go and see it and
definitely.
feel it, to go to them restaurants, have a food there.
Yeah.
The atmosphere is different.
Yeah, definitely.
The people, I don't know if it's because of sunshine, but people are more polite and smiling.
You got to remember, especially from a foreigner's point of view, okay, everybody who's in Cyprus who have moved there, they're like-minded.
Okay.
It doesn't matter the nationality. They've moved there for a reason.
Yeah,
they're all got the same mentality.
For a better lifestyle,
So
basically.
they're connecting easier than what you do maybe in the UK or for another country.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they're connecting because they're all like-minded and they're all discussing in
similar things.
Similar things, yeah.
Business. Are there opportunities for businesses? For example, someone's coming from the UK and they would open business, some kind of services or something. How is it with setting up a business?
Yeah,
a little bit more difficult than in the UK.
Business is a big thing in Cyprus now.
Yeah.
Firstly, let's touch on the benefits of setting up a business. Corporate tax now in Cyprus is 15%. Okay. The main factor here, though, is that the dividend from that business every year is tax-free. Okay. So any business owners are taking that dividend and not paying any tax on it. Okay. So that's a massive thing. Sales of shares of the company are tax-free as well.
Wow.
Okay. So a lot of big, not just individuals, but a lot of big corporate businesses are setting up their European headquarters in Cyprus to take advantage of the taxes. Setting up a business, an accountant, a lawyer can set up businesses easily within 2 to 3 weeks. Okay, it's normally a couple of €1,000 to set the business up. Sometimes it's quicker. Sometimes the lawyers have what they call on-the-shelf businesses set there ready, already registered, that you can just buy it and on-the-shelf.
And change the name of
the
director?
Yep. So that's very quick. Obviously, services industry is the biggest industry in Cyprus. Okay, but there are financial services. Again, that's another big one. IT services. Okay, these are big industries. Obviously, the tourism service. Okay, these are all the main industries in the country. But we see companies coming in and setting up. A lot of people now are working from home. So as we touched on earlier, people work from their laptops now, so they can come down there, have the lifestyle and the warm weather on their back, and still doing their business in the UK or still doing their business in whichever country they come from. Okay, so we're seeing a lot more of that happening as well. Okay,
brilliant. Would you say most of the restaurants are run by locals or?
They are.
Yeah.
We do see a few. Like Chinese restaurants, Vietnamese restaurants setting up now, where the clients have come over to stay, and then they obviously want to set up a business and do something while they're there. They might have their children in education, but they still want to do something, so they set up their businesses in that way and open restaurants. But traditionally, most of the restaurants are going to be locals. Yeah,
locals. Yeah. Food, seafood.
Obviously, that's a big thing. Okay, obviously lamb and pork, obviously big things as well.
Yeah.
Having the souvla, the barbecues. It's like with us, we're in Cyprus. We hardly use our cooker indoors. Our ovens and hobs are still brand new. It look brand new in
just
our
barbecue
because we cook most things outside on the barbecue. Even in the winter, it might be a cloudy day, but it might still be 18 or 20 degrees. You stick the barbecue on.
Of course.
Okay, so you cook outside. It's outside living, and that's the biggest attraction.
Lifestyle, yeah.
So, and you can do that for 10, 11 months of the year. You know, so you don't cook indoors very often. Let's put it that way.
That's a big difference.
Yeah, of course.
Um,
And that's why it's important when you're looking at your property. Okay, that it's not about buying a big property. It's not about indoor space. Okay, it's about making sure you got the right outdoor space
outdoor
in Cyprus.
space. Yeah.
Okay, you need the outdoor verandas. You need, because you're going to spend most of your time outdoors.
Yeah.
Okay,
And if you invite people around and there is 25, 30 degrees outside, why would you sit inside?
you're not indoors.
You
That's
know?
right. So it's not always about, you know. Okay, a lot of people say, "Oh, we want a 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom house. We got this, that, and the other. You know, we want it as big as possible." But you got to remember that most of your living in Cyprus will be outdoors. So it's important. Sometimes, like ourselves, we've got a 2-bedroom villa, okay, with a swimming pool, but we got good outdoor areas.
Yeah.
Okay, so and that is important. Okay, it's not. It's you know, what I've had clients recently. It's actually a little pointer here. They told me they're not going to buy a big house just for maybe family will visit 2 or 3 times a year. Okay, they're going to buy what they want. Okay, and when the family do come, if they come, they can rent somewhere close by for them, or they can spend time in a hotel.
Yeah.
But they're not going to spend hundreds of thousands on a big house that clients might not, family might not come over. So you know, you have to think of all these things as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have similar thinking. We always think like, oh, I will invite my family over, you know, and thinking, what if there is 12 people inside, you know, can we fit in and things like this? But yeah, there's always option.
Yeah,
always
no,
option.
Yeah.
What about medical care?
Medical care is, you know, with everybody. Whenever you're,
should we compare it to
NHS?
NHS?
whenever you're moving to a foreign country, you know, leaving your home country, medical is obviously a big thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Cyprus traditionally has always been, you know, there's been the local general hospitals, and we've always had a lot of private hospitals. Okay, and when we first went there, we had private medical care. We went to the private hospitals, but from 2017, they started to change the system, and they've actually implemented a national healthcare system. Okay, 2019, it was fully operational. Okay, so now once you've got your PR, okay, and once you're living in Cyprus, okay, you have to live in Cyprus now 9 months, and then you register with the doctor at the hospital, with a GP. Because all our GPs in Cyprus are based at hospitals, unlike in the UK, where they're based in their own practices. Okay, you go to hospitals, private hospital or general hospital, that's where the GPs are based. Okay, so you register with your GP after you've lived there 9 months. You can't do it before 9 months, and that's why part of the PR and permanent residency application, you have to have private medical care for the first year.
Okay.
So after 9 months, then you obviously can register and obviously then take advantage of the national healthcare system. Okay, which is very good, by the way. Okay. Personally, I'm having a knee operation in a few weeks, a keyhole surgery on my meniscus. But basically, within 1 week, go to the doctor, MRI scan and X-rays a few days later, diagnose within a day, and then you can have the operation literally within a week if you wanted to. Me personally, because I was travelling on business, I've got mine scheduled for 2 weeks' time. But I've had the same operation previously, and literally it was all done within 1 week. Okay.
I was waiting between 9 to 12 months for MIR scan.
No, honestly, in Cyprus,
as you know, as I told you, I'm second day off the crutches.
Yeah.
Obviously, I had my ACL done and meniscus repaired, and honestly, it was very, very long. Period of time that I was waiting for it to be.
What I think again, my wife always says the same thing, but you take the best from both worlds, okay?
Yeah.
Because not everywhere is perfect, and you take good and bad, okay? But what I would say is that from an accident and emergency point of view, UK is very good, okay? But from a diagnosis point of view, I would always go to Cyprus. So you can get in and see, you can get scans done, you can get X-rays done, you get diagnostics very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, so from a diagnostics point of view, Cyprus is definitely 100% a lot better. Okay.
So is there any kind of like insurance you have to pay in order to get that national healthcare?
You have to, obviously, you pay into the contributions that you pay. If you're an employee or if you're a business owner, you obviously pay that. Obviously, if you're a retiree from the UK, you're coming over there, you bring your S1 form, okay, and then you get your medical care in Cyprus. So the S1 form is you get it from the UK, which means that they take you out of the UK system and put you into the Cyprus system.
Okay.
But again, we have private healthcare as well. Okay, but that's our choice. And
Yeah.
obviously from a permanent residency application, you need that for 1 year anyway. Okay, but obviously because we travel a lot, we've got international cover. Okay, but again, that's personal choice always. You don't need it. If you don't want it, you don't have to have it. It's not something you need. Okay.
Did you attract many of your friends as well? People from your circle when they saw that obviously you moved out to Mediterranean country?
Not really. Everyone.
No?
Well, I go back to when we handed our notice in, and myself and my wife had the same experiences.
People were saying you were a fool.
No, I wish we could do that.
All right.
And my answer was, you can.
Of course.
We took a risk. It was our risk. But like I said, going back to the start of the podcast, what I said is that we look at the worst scenario. If you look at the worst scenario and you think, well, that's okay, why not do it?
What could happen? You will come back and
that's right.
recover again. So
if it doesn't work out, you return to where you come from.
It's always going to work out. If
it's
you
down
know
to the
what
individuals
you want,
actually. If you want it to work out,
true.
Many times again going there for the first 3 weeks before, we were exploring things and going into bars and restaurants, and you get a lot of negativity as well. Okay. The people that are there, you're not going to get work, because bearing in mind we were late 30s when we went there. Okay. Been there 21 years now, but basically people were used to say to us, you're not going to get work, there's no work here for you, there's no work, because they're sat in bars every day. The same people are in the bars every afternoon. If you want to work, you
will find a work.
You will find it.
Yeah, of course.
Okay?
Of course.
And that's down to the individuals always. Okay.
Definitely.
I
can talk from my own experience.
Well, we didn't go there thinking we're fully retired now.
Yeah.
If something came along, we would look at it. If nothing came along, then we might have been back in the UK after 1 year.
I came to UK, I was promised job, which wasn't the case. So I had to go and knock on the doors and basically find a job. But I have to say that time it was easy to find a job if you wanted to work. All you needed was right attitude and willingness to work, to do the hours. Yeah. Warehouses, and there was work everywhere basically. But not so easy if you don't speak language at all.
Yeah.
So... you can make it anywhere. I think if you really
definitely.
want to, the opportunities are there.
Yeah, and it's changed slightly now.
Not in the bar,
No, not in the bar every day, But it's changed slightly in Cyprus now regarding work, because when we went as a European passport holder, which the UK passport was, we could stay in Europe and work and do what we wanted. Indefinitely. But now, obviously, since Brexit, that's slightly changed, because if you want to work now, you need to get a work visa.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and you need to get a sponsor, a company that wants you to work, if you're not going to set up your own business. Okay, but basically now it's slightly changed. Okay.
So first of all, you have to find a company where you can potentially work, and then apply for the work.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. Like we employ people from China.
Yeah.
Okay, because we needed translators. Okay, for our Chinese clients.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's easy for us, because as a company, you have to apply to the government, okay, and you have to. They're going to ask you, why do you need this person? Okay, can a Cypriot do that job, or can a European do that job? And that's as any company, they have to prove why they need that person. So if it's a British person, we have to prove to the government, why do we need him? Okay, can a Cypriot do that job firstly, or can a European do that job firstly, before we give a visa to somebody from outside Europe? And that's how it's changed. Okay, where it never used to be like that.
Yeah. A little bit more complicated, but still straightforward if you know the rules.
It's still achievable.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's just it's a different processing now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get it.
It's not just a case of going there, British passport, I can stay forever.
Yeah.
Okay, which is what it used to be like.
Yeah. Quick question. Would you say that your life changed a lot since you spent the many years in Cyprus in terms of lifestyle and...
I think so.
In overall, I would say.
Overall, I think so.
Yeah.
I don't think, we wouldn't be... We were lucky, the company we worked for, we had the opportunity to travel the world as well, to see different nationalities. I don't think, if we had stayed in the UK and 21 years later, still been in our industries that we were in.
Might would have to be in the same, same week, same months, same years.
Yeah, same amount of hours every day. There's no way our lives would be, like they are now.
Yeah.
Definitely it was 100% the best thing we did. Okay.
Quick question. As you know, this podcast is called Beyond Loyalty, and I'm very passionate about old school values. Is loyalty important to you?
Yeah, of course, definitely. You know, trust and loyalty is definitely a big thing. Okay, especially in this industry as well.
Yeah,
okay,
100%.
Personally, but also within the industry. You know, we're in the industry to help clients. Okay, you know, as I said earlier, some of our friends are English that we met years ago when we first sold them a property.
Mm-hmm.
You keep that trust and that loyalty going through.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, definitely.
Especially when you help them with everything, you literally guide them, hand by hand, basically throughout the process.
Because you see it sometimes. It is a big decision to move overseas.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if you're talking, if you're communicating with people who have done it, it makes life easier for you. You know, myself and my wife, we connect well with clients because we've actually gone through the process that they're thinking of going through. Okay, so that's a big thing as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if anyone would consider to move to Cyprus or buy property in Cyprus, for whether that's investment or they want to live there, just contact us and we will guide you through the process. We can set up a Zoom call.
Yeah, 100%. You can have Zoom calls initially.
Yeah.
Okay. Timings. I'm always, wherever I am, whether it's in the UK, Cyprus, or in Asia, I'm always available to speak to people on Zoom or have a call with them to explain everything. Initial consultation. But I think the big thing is to get in contact first. Okay. Obviously, you're here based on the ground. Okay. Contact you, and then obviously you can put them in contact with me. Okay, and we can speak to the clients together. No problem. Okay.
And we might meet in Paphos.
Start the process of the life change.
Yeah. So next time in Paphos.
Definitely. Yeah.
Cool. It's been an absolute pleasure, Barry.
Okay.
Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate that you accepted the invitation, and I'm looking forward to do some business in the future.
Brilliant. It was great to be here.
Thank you. At Rainbow Northwest, we make real estate effortless. Whether you're looking to sell on the market, off market through our exclusive investor database, or via auction, we've got you covered. Plus, we offer top-notch property and project management, including refurbishment for investors. We can help you to build your own portfolio. Let us help you on your real estate journey. Rainbow Northwest, your trusted real estate business partner.